I didn't have to go to the grocery store for a week because I was able to grow a ton of lettuce in my small garden bed in my backyard. Hey, if you're new here, I'm growing a lot of food in a small space, and I believe you can too. This spring was my second season growing crops, and what you're looking at is about 12 to 15 ounces of organic lettuce that would have cost me about $12 to $15 at the grocery store, plus the time to drive to the store. In my home, we eat a lot of salad, so in March, I made sure to plant a bunch of lettuce seeds. Now, fall 2024 was my first attempt at growing crops, and I was not successful. So, I was really happy when I saw little lettuce plants popping up after about a week. But shortly after they germinated, of course, I ran into a problem, and that was leggy plants. Being a new plant caregiver, I foolishly placed them in front of the window despite what was recommended. I thought surely they would do just fine, but truth was, I didn't want to buy an expensive grow light, and guess what? I did not get grow light results. The seedlings did not grow well, and I should have listened. Plants can become what is called leggy if you don't give them enough light. Leggy means your plant will grow tall and thin, and that's not good. You want your plant's stem to be short and thick so it can support the plants whenever it is mature. When I realized what had happened, I quickly purchased a grow light from Amazon. Here were the results after about 2 weeks. The lettuce continued to grow just fine, and before I knew it, they started growing their first true leaves. Now, I learned that you're supposed to give them liquid fertilizer after their true leaves appear. This is for several reasons. Inside a seed is the nutrients the plant needs to grow, but those nutrients are limited. Once it has grown its true leaves, it can no longer use the nutrients from its seeds because it is all gone. Therefore, it must use nutrients from the soil. I started these lettuce seeds in a potting mix, which is not soil, so I needed to fertilize the plant. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared to fertilize them. I was scared I would over fertilize them and kill them, but I didn't. I watched a ton of videos for advice, and this time I actually listened. So, common advice was to dilute the recommended fertilizer by half. So, if it said 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, I did a half a tablespoon per gallon of water. This part was really easy, and I fertilized every time I watered, which was about 2 times a week. And after a month of diligent care and proper liquid nutrition, I had these beauties that were ready to be transplanted. Look at these roots. The roots were not brown, and if they were, that would have meant they were starting to rot. So my watering was on point. I put them in my raised garden bed in my backyard and waited for them to grow. But after a week, things started to look kind of fishy. And what I mean by that is that they started to turn white. And I was like, what is this and what is going on? Apparently, white leaves on lettuce happen because the lettuce is lacking some sort of nutrients like nitrogen or iron. Unlike with the fertilizer situation, where I actually listened, I pulled another one of those grow light moments, and I kind of ignored the sound advice this time again. Do as I say and not as I do. That is the moral of this lesson, okay? I said it would be okay, and for some reason, I was surprised when my situation did not improve. So, y'all, please don't listen to what I did. I didn't want to go out and buy fertilizer because I wanted to use my homemade compost. Now, let me tell you about this homemade compost of mine. The compost was not composting. Apparently, I overwatered it, and at the time of my lettuce problem, it was nowhere to being done. So I ended up folding and I bought some organic fertilizer, and I am glad I did because 5 days later the leaves begin to turn green again. Now I don't have a picture, but trust me, they turned green again. This brings me to the present day. So this is what my lettuce is was looking like earlier this week. Since then I have picked it. I've harvested it like 3 times for like a small salad, a burger, and a Cobb salad, and I still have more to pick before the heat kicks in. Now by the time I go pick some more, I would have even more lettuce because I used the cut and come again method. Now, that's when you pick the outside leaves of the lettuce and leave the center where the new lettuce is growing. The immature lettuce will continue to grow from the center, allowing you to come back to more lettuce even after you have already picked it. How cool is that? So I grew all of this in a small area. Y'all, it's only 9 square feet. So believe me when I say growing in a small space is possible. I know many people think about growing their own food, but don't decide to do it. I was once there, so no judgment, but I'm curious, do you want to grow your own food? And if so, what do you think is stopping you? Let's start our chat in the comment section. And as always, good luck on your garden journey.